Me this afternoon. I've got Tiffany Bayliss. Good afternoon, Tiffany.
Good afternoon.
It's great to have you here. Now, Tiffany is a British-born 23-year-old dual law degree graduate and serial entrepreneur, and you were recently awarded the title of Miss Surrey GB 2018.
Yes.
Exciting. You're going on to represent the County of Surrey at the national finals of Miss Great Britain on the 14th of September at the Athena in Leicester.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, Tiffany, why did you enter? What made you enter?
I think having studied law, it's vastly different to the world of pageantry as a whole. Very, very different. And for me, it was the opportunity to, I guess, have that experience of being a princess, which I think, these pageants do allow you to feel for that period of time. And entering into it, my perception of what pageantry as a whole has changed.
Yeah.
I didn't realise how much actually goes into it. There are so many different aspects to what being Miss Great Britain is. So we're expected to do lots of charity work within our community, such as appearances, as also in addition to, kind of campaigning for body positivity. And then on top of that, you're expected to be externally and internally beautiful. And I definitely thought that prior to entering it really just was that external element to it. And now having gone through the whole process, realizing there's so many more layers to what it is.
I think that's a key thing. I mean, going back to you saying, being treated like a princess, I think every woman should have the chance of that in their lifetime, shouldn't
I don't think that ever dies, does it?
No.
I think no matter whether you're 13 or whether you're 30 or 50 or 60, you always kind of want to feel appreciated and in some way honoured for for how you feel about yourself. And I think people assume that at some point that stops, and it never really does as a woman or as a female.
No, and I think as women get older and they have children and husbands and whatever, you almost feel the opposite. You feel as if you're constantly giving all of yourself to others and doing everything for everyone else, and very little seems to come back to you sometimes.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think you're right. When I was a child, and I spoke about this last week when I interviewed Miss Kent, Miss England and Miss Great Britain were they were beauty contests, so they were looking basically at the outside. And it is so lovely now that it means so much more. That there are all these different, the fitness element and
Absolutely, I completely agree. I think traditionally pageants from when they started were very much about external beauty. And I think that was quite reflective of how women were seen in society at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But as time has gone along, it's morphed and evolved with how women are now perceived. So now women are business owners. They are, the heads of their household. They're quite strong within their communities. And I guess we didn't really have that, that power within our communities, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, when pageantry was kind of the be-all and end-all for a lot of women. So they've had to change. They've had to change to be reflective of what women now represent. And that is not just, obviously, there's this fundamental element of being externally beautiful. That's an essential. But in addition to that, there is but how strong of a woman are you in your voice within your community? How strong of a woman are you in your voice and what you use as your platform? So I think it's very important, and I think it's refreshing that a lot of the pageants, such as Miss Great Britain and Miss England, are trying to reinvent what it means then to be Miss Great Britain or Miss England.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. And I think when you first entered, you were quite stunned, weren't you, really, when you received your title?
Yeah, I was. Because I think I am also one of those people who had a different perception of what it was.
Yeah.
Now, I entered it, and it's not that I entered into it having a negative perception of it, but I definitely entered into it having a superficial perception of it. And so to get into it when I'm not the typical candidate, I was studying law, I was writing my dissertation at the time. I wasn't really someone who I thought maybe, okay, I'd get through all my answers, but I didn't think I was, the typical, bombshell beauty that would get into something like this. So when I did get in it, I was absolutely shocked. And then it's not until sort of my journey through it that I realized it is a lot of work in what you're expected to be and represent, and that isn't just about how I look. It's so much more than that. And furthermore, it's also about embracing the entire spectrum of beauty. So not just, one size fits all. And I think it's really refreshing to see that there are so many different types of women being represented within these pageants, because that is also representative of society now.
Yes, and there's so many areas of society that don't represent society as a whole.
Exactly. Well, you can still look in lots of fashion magazines, and how many women can you actually identify with? Now that is changing, but I think it's extremely important that, I guess, pageants which define for many young women what is considered beautiful also are reflective of that. Okay, no, you are also welcome here.
Yes.
I think that's really important.
Hopefully magazines will follow suit.
Hopefully, yes.
Shan't expect it overnight, but hopefully.
But I definitely think the dynamic shift is happening now.
Yes.
So with time.
Yeah, with time would definitely happen. Now, you are an entrepreneur, and you live between here and Spain.
Yes.
And you have a couple of businesses. Would you like to tell us about your businesses?
So I have 2 companies now. So one which is already currently running, which is La Vida Glamora, which is essentially microblading, which is a form of semi-permanent tattooing. It's absolutely phenomenal how it can restore a person's confidence by putting eyebrows on the face. It may not seem like something substantial, but really the difference it makes to how you feel about yourself and how you see yourself is huge. And then the second company is in line with what I studied. So I studied 2 law degrees while I was at a business school in Spain, and I set up an agency which will officially launch at the end of September or the start of October, and that is teaching English, legal English and business English, as well as teaching English to children. So they're quite different, I guess, in the spheres that they're in, but also I think it's important to sort of pursue what your interests are, and I had an interest in both, so I pursued both.
Brilliant. I think that's wonderful. The more variety we get in life, the more exciting it is to get up every day and just get
Absolutely.
on and do
I think it's important for you to feel that you can do that, or for people to encourage you to pursue everything, because I think a lot of time we traditionally are made to feel that, okay, you have to kind of pursue one path. That is the traditional thing. You find something you're good at and you pursue it.
Yeah.
But I think things are changing now for people to have a more diverse spectrum of things that they can be involved in.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we have young women in society who are kind of proof of that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're running out of time, but what I did want to touch on quickly is your charity.
Yes.
So for the Miss Great Britain, you have to do something charitable, and you've got a brilliant incentive. Not incentive, what's the word I'm looking for? Initiative.
Absolutely.
And I think if you could tell us about that, then if anyone listening out there would like your help, you'd be able to help them with it.
So the most important part of the Miss Great Britain competition for me is that you do have to be an impact within your communities. Now, as a certified microblading artist, I set up a 10-day campaign which runs from the September 1st to September 10th, and this offers free, no hidden charge whatsoever, free microblading treatments for people who suffer from alopecia or any other form of severe hair loss, whether that's from cancer or just general lack of growth. This applies to men and women. So if you are interested in this at all, I would absolutely love to help you, and you can find all this information on my website, which is Miss Surrey GB 2018. You can also find this on my Instagram, which is I_am_Tiffany, and additionally on my Facebook, which is Miss Surrey Great Britain 2018. It would really mean a lot for me to do a campaign or help people in a way that directly impacts people. So if you think you could benefit from having eyebrows, I would love to help.
Brilliant. Well, we'll put that on our Facebook page as well, on the Brooklands Radio One. And thank you so much for coming in to talk to us today, Tiffany. Good luck in the finals.
Thank you.
We shall keep our ears open to hear what happens, and then maybe you can come back in and talk to us at another time as well.
Absolutely.
That's lovely. Thank you. So that was Tiffany Bayliss, who is Miss Surrey, and she is in the Miss Great Britain finals on the 14th of September.